Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Lüning, Horst Lüning, and I'm the master taster of Whisky.com. And today we have a specialty here on my cask. It's a very rare bottle, a rare brand. It's a Girvan number 4 Apps, 42% ABV. Girvan, never heard of that? Well, it's a grain whiskey distillery owned by William Grant & Sons, which is the company which produces Glenfiddich and Balvenie and Candied whiskies. Girvan lies far in the south of Scotland in the county South Ayrshire. There is an independent bottled single malt whiskey called Ayrshire from Gordon MacPhail, which happened to come also out of this distillery, but as a malt whiskey. This one is a single grain whiskey. That means that the ingredients of this bottle weren't malted barley. No, it was a non-malted cereal. Typically it's wheat. In former times it had been very often maize, corn, because it was cheaper, but the output, the yield of raw whiskey or alcohol you receive out of a ton of wheat is higher than out of a ton of maize. So most of the grain whiskey distilleries today run on wheat. They typically get out 400 or 420 liters of pure alcohol out of a ton of wheat. The distillation process in a grain whiskey distillery typically runs on continuous stills, as they are known in the US as column stills. And this was a patent in 1850 around. A guy called Aeneas Coffey invented or increased the capabilities of the continuous stills, and then they were called coffee stills, or later on they were always called patent stills. And this patent still used here is a very special patent still. It was introduced in 1992 and it runs with low pressure. If you heat the mash or the wort, the beer, then alcohol evaporates first, and then the water is coming after, and in between, depending on the temperature, comes a lot of, well, aromatic substances, compounds. If you reduce the pressure inside the still, you have a vacuum pump out the air, then all the compounds will evaporate earlier at less temperature. This is if you go up on a hill and cook your water, it will not cook at 100 degrees centigrade or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. No, it will cook more early, a lot earlier. And this is used in this patent still, that you do not need this high temperature, you do not need this much energy, but you have to work the pump for pumping out the air of the patent still. So we have less temperature and there is a finer spirit produced by the still. What's written on the bottle? Girvan patent still. Here, very big letters. Single grain Scotch whiskey, number 4 apps. No, it's not an iPhone app. It's an apparatus, distillation apparatus. In 1963, our first Girvan patent still ran with spirit. Almost 3 decades later, in 1992, we installed a pioneering new still, which we named number 4 apps, a distillery term for apparatus. This unique still, operated under a vacuum, permits distillation at low temperatures, delivering a pure, vibrant and fruity single-grain spirit, ripe for maturation in our vanillin-rich American oak. William Grant & Sons. Notes of candied fruit and cream balanced by oak. It is, quite simply, deliciously different single-grain whiskey, approved by Master Distiller John M. Ross. That's all. Then there's a small icon here, like kindergarten paintings. And here on the side is written, there's this spiral, remembering on a worm. But no, it's a patent still. There is no worm behind. The Girvan patent still continuous distillation. A drop, a golden drop, producing single grain whiskey of pure character with notes of vanilla, mellow honey and candied fruit finish. That's all. Fruity. I'm afraid I'm no friend of grain whiskey. Why? I often thought about that the grain is the thing I do not like inside grain whiskey. But no, grain whiskey is typically matured only for 3 years for filling up the malt whiskey in a blended whiskey. So you blend your tastes from different malts and then you fill up with a more or less smooth, mellow corn whiskey, and then you have your blend. And this whiskey has just to mature for 3 years, and so the cask I used and used and used and used up to 10 times. So we do not have a refill or a second or a third fill from the malt whiskey industry. No, we have up to 10 fills of a cask, and in the end there's nothing left in the cask, and the whiskey just tears out tannins from the oak wood, and this brings a lightly bitter character in the whiskey, and this is what I do not like. So you hear me often saying, well, I do not like grain whiskey, but it's the misuse of the cask behind. Very light. Distant fruit. No vanilla. No nothing. This is really close to nothing. And in the back a little oak is appearing. So this is so far away remembrance of fruit that I can't tell you which fruit. It's just a little fruity, that's all. No vanilla, no sweetness, no candied fruit, no. So what's written on the label is not what I feel here. So it's quite weird. So have a sip. Oh, just bitter. Bitterness. No sweetness, no fruit, no vanilla, just bitter. Bitter tannins, bitter oak. No little oak in the back, it's just in the front, it hits your tongue. It's tannins, it's bitterness. The aftertaste is very short, but the oak, the bitterness, is staying on your tongue. So this is multiple refill ex-bourbon casks. You can see it from the color. Faint fruit. No, this is no whiskey I like. I'm sorry about this. I got this bottle from the distributor and I'm afraid he should have left it where it stood. So it's not for me, but I'm looking forward. That's not ironic, no. I'm looking forward for the next bottle to taste, and this is a 25-year-old Girvan patent still whiskey, and this has seen a lot more of oak because it's a lot darker. So I'm afraid this one is not that cheap. $50, $60 I think it will cost, if at all available in the US. And well, you have to think about giving paying so much money for a whiskey which is quite decent in taste and bitter in the aftertaste. If you're a friend of oak, this might be just the bottle for you. Thank you for watching, and feel free to share this video with your friends. Thank you.